Hello and welcome to Diving Deeper, brought to you by Beardo Group. Today, you have your host, Kai Beard, and I'm joined by...
Andrea Olsson.
Hello, Andrea. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on our first episode. Here we are, finally.
Yeah.
Really happy about that. And so, Andrea, tell us a bit about yourself.
Where to start? Well, I'm half South African, half Austrian. Lived in Australia for 11 years in Sydney. And I've been living in Sweden in Stockholm for the last almost 9 years. And I'm the co-founder of Bumpy.
Amazing. And so what inspired your move here?
Love.
Love, yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. And a Swedish man?
Yes, my husband's Swedish.
Amazing. And so you're the co-founder of Bumpy. And how long have you been doing that for? And do you want to share a little bit about what Bumpy does for those that don't know?
Absolutely. I mean, we founded the company in May 2021. And then later that year started working on it full time. Bumpy is a platform for people who are navigating their fertility journey. Let's say they are going through infertility or they trying to figure out the next step in trying to conceive. So we help them find the right clinic that's best suited to them based on their needs, as well as others facing similar challenges.
Amazing. And so what inspired you to start Bumpy?
Bumpy is really a passion-driven company. Both us co-founders have long and still ongoing experiences of going through infertility, and that's really the foundation of the company. Us going through this ourselves and really finding a lack of support and help to find the right clinic, and just in general information about infertility, it was really difficult.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And it really seems like a great solution, what you guys have made. And obviously, you are a client of mine, and we are working together. And, from everything that I've seen, it's obviously incredibly purpose-driven, and it is a really great app that really does serve people. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, no, we're really proud of what we have created so far, and our product is really there to support others that are struggling.
Yeah. When you started Bumpy, did you guys intentionally start Bumpy? Like, did you sit down and say, we're going to make an app, we're going to make something that serves people, or did it just kind of hit you, or did you sit down, brainstorm, think of different ideas for business? How did it come about?
I mean, this really happened after I was really, really ill in 2020. Me being ill was part of my fertility journey per se, because I was one of the first in the world to have a uterus transplant in December 2019. And anyway, long story short, I was very, very ill and hospitalized for many months, had to learn to walk again, etc. So coming back out of that, and me and Elin had been friends for some time already, and we both had our own different kind of journeys of infertility, but we started talking about that, like when I was recovering, basically what can we do, and basically the beginning of this was really, we thought about creating a community where people can connect with others and find others. That was kind of the first very initial idea, what we wanted to create, a place where people can come together that's not within Facebook or existing social media platforms where all your friends, colleagues, bosses are on. So we just wanted to lift that out and create like a safe space. And then, we started to brainstorm and talk about it, and Elin then had an idea of the app. Mm-hmm. So we just took it from there.
Amazing. And so to take it from an idea to the app, what did that look like? Did you guys know people that made apps? Did you go and seek investment? Like, what was the process between the idea and, having the app itself?
Trying to think back how that was, but yeah, we bootstrapped in the beginning, and a friend of Elin's was a developer, so he kind of created our MVP in the very beginning in a very short period of time. Wasn't the best code or anything, but we just wanted something to start, like onboarding some people to get feedback. So that's kind of where it started. And then I remember, this is all before we had raised any kind of money. We started to look for a CTO because this person, he was just did it as a project. So we had something to go by, but we needed to find someone that actually wanted to be part of the journey longer term. So so we did some interviews, and then we found our CTO, who's still with us, and he's kind of built the product on his own. We had a second developer also for a period of time. They both are friends. So that's kind of how it started.
All came about. Amazing. And so Bumpy right now, from my understanding, you guys are operating in Europe. You're connecting people that need IVF fertility treatment to clinics. And where do you go from there? Like, what's your vision with Bumpy? End goal, if there is an end goal.
End goal. Well, what we want to really achieve is that for everyone that is trying to conceive, having struggles with fertility or wanted to freeze the eggs, to have Bumpy on top of mind for everyone going through it. That's kind of the goal. And then, of course, we focused on Europe right now, but US is a big market for us too, Asia as well. So we definitely have planned on expanding.
Yeah. Okay. And is there certain countries that have more IVF needs and fertility needs than others, or is it quite general?
There's not countries that have more needs, but there's definitely, because infertility affects everyone equally, regardless of where you live. But there's definitely hotspots where fertility treatments are much more sought after. For example, Spain is quite a big hotspot in Europe. A lot of the southern countries actually as well, Greece, Cyprus, for a lot of Germans also Czech Republic. And this is not only dependent on prices, but also laws are different in different countries based on what you can do. So there's lots of people traveling, not only Swedish people, but...
And why is it higher in Spain than other countries? Like, what kind of factors could contribute to a country's... I'm not sure how to phrase what I'm saying, but what kind of factors would contribute to people needing fertility treatment more in somewhere like Spain than others?
Just to clarify, it's not that people in Spain need more treatment. It's just that Spain has a lot of fantastic clinics, for example, some other countries. So a lot of people travel to Spain. Also, it might be a little bit cheaper than, for example, in Scandinavia or the UK. So people travel to Spain to do treatment, but it's not like people in Spain are more infertile than people in Sweden. But it's just become like a hotspot.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. And do you mind me asking some questions about the fertility process itself?
Sure.
What kind of factors could contribute to someone needing fertility treatment? Does that question make sense?
Like, what are the causes?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a better way to say it.
I shouldn't be laughing about that, but well, there's different needs why people seek out the fertility treatment. One could be people are starting to have children later and later in life. Actually, in Sweden, the birth rate last year and during 2022 was like the worst ever. So people are having less children and people having children later in life. So one part is, of course, fertility preservation. A lot of people are considering, freezing the egg, freezing their sperm so they can use it at a later time. That might be one reason. Another reason is that you've been trying for 12 months, let's say, hasn't worked out, nothing is working, and you might need some help from science to make it happen. So that's could be another reason. But the actual causes why people are infertile, there's many. There's really many. But something that we really want to point out is, and put a spotlight on, is that it's equally between men and women. It's not the woman that is the at fault,
Yeah.
which is more the perception people have, right? That, infertility, that's a female issue, and it's definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of a lot of men, they're having issues with their...
sperm quality.
Yeah, and like their sperm count.
Exactly.
And so what I'm really trying to dive into is what kind of lifestyle factors could affect someone's fertility, if that is something that affects their fertility, or is it just, it can just happen to anyone, which I'm sure it could, but are there also other things that people could do better in their lifestyle and their lifestyle habits that could help them in this area?
Yeah, actually interesting. I just did a session with one of our nutritional therapists the other day. But yes, so one thing just to make very clear, if there is a medical issue, lifestyle factors can maybe support. But if you have a medical issue, you might need treatment regardless. And that's not easily solved by changing your lifestyle. However, over a long period of time, you can support your fertility or put your body in a better place for it by, let's say, stopping smoking or reducing alcohol, less caffeine, this kind of don't expose yourself to toxins. These can have an impact. But if someone is infertile or not, I wouldn't say, oh, it's because they have done this or have done that, or that they've done something wrong. That's really important for us to point out. You should never, as a person, think like, oh, what have I done wrong? But you can get in the mindset of course, okay, I'm going to have to go through treatment, but what can I do to support my body to maybe make things a little bit better or put myself in a better place?
Yeah, and that's totally fair enough. And so moving on from that, I want to go into you a bit more into Andrea. I understand what inspired you to become a business owner, an entrepreneur, and it was your experiences that led you to form Bumpy. Do you feel like you would have been an entrepreneur or business owner anyway?
Good question. Well, I never, when I was younger or going through education stuff, it's never like I had the dream to be an entrepreneur or to start a business. That was never my dream. So I would say this is, it's purpose and passion why Bumpy was founded and why I'm in this position now. But however, many years ago when I lived in Australia, my professional background is within brand and design. And I did sort of... it's not the same thing as starting a business, but when you're freelancing, I did that for about like 3.5 years, and I just started because I needed more flexibility. I was working at a creative agency / brand studio for many years, and I decided to quit because my mother got really, really sick. She had cancer, and I wanted to basically have the possibility to travel abroad, be with her, and work more flexible. So I then decided to... It's not really my own company, but decided to freelance and really work independently, yourself. Work for myself. Yeah. And I managed to, and there the goal was never to create a company out of it either, but I managed to make a decent income for a couple of years, and that worked fine for me. But I never had the dream to be an entrepreneur, to be honest.
Okay. When you made that jump to start working for yourself, what did you learn?
I mean, back then the business was also based on getting in people that want to, of course, hire me or do projects with me. So it's a hustle. Basically, it's a hustle to run your own business, right? You have to meet new people, get in more work. I think that's the biggest learning, that you need to be very open to talk to a lot of people, let people know what you're doing and what you're good at and what your skill is, so they can tell someone else about you, etc. So I think that was because most of the work I got at the time was through referrals, actually. It wasn't me out on the streets running around, but it was me telling people about it, and they told a friend about it, and they told their friend, and etc. So that was... Yeah.
No, that's really good. And I think a lot of companies that I've worked with, I think most of their business is made up of referrals.
Yeah.
You know, outside of outside of what they invest in marketing and advertising, their website, etc., most businesses I know are made up of service business anyway.
Yeah.
They're made up of referrals. And I think that is a really strong part of every business. And then obviously you can start to then invest in things like marketing, advertising, SEO, lead gen, et cetera, et cetera. And so in that period of life, when you was freelancing and you was getting referrals, was there ever any moments that you was worried about money, or you was worried that work wasn't going to come? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Now you're talking back when I was doing the freelance.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I did have like a solid client that loved me, and they were kind of an ongoing client that gave me work consistently. So I kind of knew like I had my bases covered, which was really good. So I think that was a good thing to have one business come in that you have ongoing business, so you don't have to worry about that. But of course it's a challenge, and that's the thing. Like there was times where I had less work and other times where I had too much work. So a lot of freelancers can probably identify with that you end up having months where maybe you work crazy hours and like really, really much, but you have to take all the work when it comes, right? You can't say no to anything. And then maybe the next month it's a lot less. But yeah, so you have quite this up and down kind of work.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so moving from freelancer to now founder, making that jump, was it seamless, or was there a lot of things that you had to self-educate and learn on the way?
Yeah, just to go in there, I didn't jump from freelancer to founder. So from freelancer, I moved to Sweden, and I was actually working in a startup for almost 6 years, 5.5 years. And then also another company before starting Bumpy. So that period of time when I was working at this Swedish startup was a really big learning curve as well, because that was the first time. I've always worked in smaller companies, but that was the first time really getting insights into what it's like to work in a tech startup. So yeah, was that your question?
Yeah, no. So what I'm asking is, in between the freelance and the founder, so obviously you've worked at these two companies, the tech startups. Were they both tech startups?
No, one was also a small company, but no, hair products.
Fair enough.
Hair products, but I was always working within the marketing design part.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, like, what skills did you acquire in between the freelance and becoming a founder that helps you now?
Yes. So at the tech startup where I was working, I became a team lead and then manager. And I think that was the biggest learning curve, actually, because I had never been managing teams before then. And it's a very different skill set to lead a team. And it's especially difficult if you're kind of the middle manager, right? So you don't really have the power, but you have to keep everyone happy. So I think the biggest learning during that period was really like managing a team for me, anyway.
And did you learn by just doing it, or did you read books? Did you study? Did you take a course, or was it just throw yourself in the deep end and learn to swim?
It was literally throw myself in the deep end and learn to swim, because I wasn't provided any leadership guidance either, to be honest. It was just like, okay, you're a great people person, go do this. Maybe not in those words, but yeah, it was more learned by doing and like listening a lot and communicating a lot, and it was challenging for sure. Especially I think one challenging part was also like I was part of the team, and when you get promoted to be suddenly the leader of the team, that's quite a dynamic change. But yeah, it was a great learning experience.
Yeah. And was there any moments that you was stressed out, or you found it really difficult, or there was just something in that transition that was difficult to deal with?
So going from freelancer to this, or not?
In the team leading.
In the team leading, okay. Many challenges. But I think once the team had like accepted and realized that I was actually a good leader and I cared for everyone, made sure that everyone had what they needed, I think then it went really smooth. But it was definitely it was an uphill battle that turned out to be a great learning experience. And I'm very thankful. I'm still in really good contact with all the people in the team. And it was really, fantastic experience.
That's good. And what one piece of advice for anyone that's listening today, that if they're in a position to be promoted or they could put themselves forward for a promotion, but they're worried or they're scared, what advice would you offer them?
Just do it. I mean, you can read as many books as you want, but unless you do it in practice, it's not gonna, you're not gonna learn unless you're actually doing it. So I would say, don't be scared. Yeah, it might be challenging, but it's going to be okay. Just do the best you can, and you'll do fine.
Yeah, amazing. And so now you sit here a founder. What's it like being a female founder?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud to be a female founder, but it comes with its own challenges, right? One, access to funding, big challenge. And I read somewhere, and maybe this is true, but that investors, well, for one, most investors are male, like just statistically, and women are much more conservative when they present projections, and they're much more realistic, and and then investors, whereas men are more like going crazy numbers and like having this maybe unrealistic vision, but what they put forward sounds more, I don't know, better, or I'm not sure. So when male investors look at female investors, maybe they think, oh, these numbers look low, but they don't. They think like women think like men, but they don't. So maybe that's like an issue there. But I think the biggest problem is that the lack of funding.
Yeah. Okay.
And as you probably read and heard, in less than, I think it's even 0.8%, has gone to female founders, which is crazy.
That is crazy. And what sort of factors do you think that is because of?
Well, the one that I just mentioned, that I think most female entrepreneurs are much more conservative or realistic with their projections, whereas men are not, and that investors think that women are projecting like men, but they're not. So they think, oh, it's not looking like a good investment. I'm not sure. That could be one reason. But in general, I think as women, we have to prove each other or prove ourselves much more than men. So I think that investors often have much more expectations when it comes to women. And also the fact that there's much fewer female investors. We have a lot of female investors just because maybe they're drawn to our product. But yeah, that's definitely a big challenge, that the lack of females that are actually investing, and then the lack of males investing in women.
Yeah. How do you feel your experience is different to male founders outside of investment?
I think we just have to work harder and prove ourselves more. I think that people in general maybe expect more, but we do know that women build better businesses in the long run. I think in general, women are more scared maybe to start a business.
So diving into, a lot of ladies being scared to start their businesses because of certain statistics that are, facts and are well known. What actionable advice would you give to ladies that are worried about starting a business, or they're not quite believing in themselves?
I mean, just dare to do it. Just start, I guess. But what I more want to point something on is that as female founders, you know, there's a lot of programs out there and things to support females, but then they want us to pay for it. And, you know, there's no like course for males to be founders. You know what I mean? Like people are in general trying to put out a lot of tools and like to lift women, but then often they charge for it, or it comes at a price, or, oh, we women, we have to go through this in order to get that. I think that's maybe more an answer to the previous question. But I think that's something I would like to put a spotlight on, because I get so frustrated. It's very often, it's like, oh, maybe you could do this. We have this thing special for female founders, and then you have to pay for it. It's like, but wait a minute, why? I mean, there's many initiatives that's trying to lift women and trying to do something about it. But then it's also really sad, because then you have to stand there at the table to like try and promote your business, but then you don't see any men having to do that. Do you see what I mean? It's a little bit like, I think that there hasn't been yet found the right way to support female businesses. I mean, there's great companies and accelerators, like, or for example, also Feminvest, that are trying to do initiatives to really lift women, which is fantastic. One thing that I also think as a female founder is a little bit annoying, that we have to call ourselves female founders. You know, we're just founders as well. And then often to be like, oh, but you just got this because you're a female founder, or you just got in here because you're female, or, you know, the pity card, or that's something that really we need to take away. All women that are entrepreneurs, they founders, period, and not female founders.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So here in Stockholm or Sweden, it is quite woke. And so beforehand, I've met loads of ladies that own businesses, that are founders, and I never ever used the term female founder. But it was only as I came to Sweden and you kind of pick up the lingo and, you know, all the buzzwords, that I started using the phrase female founder. And I do see how, I mean, I do agree with you. You are just a founder and or a business owner. But I do think that the culture here, particularly in Sweden, it does promote that and kind of, I could say, encourages people to use that term. Whereas in somewhere like England, I've never heard someone say female founder. They just say, yeah, I have a business.
And I get the idea that they're trying to lift women and make it a good thing, but I think it's actually not. It's doing the opposite, right? We're female founder. Just, it's kind of putting us in a group, which we shouldn't be part of our own little group. We should be part of the whole ecosystem, not just the female founder part.
Yeah, of course. What one skill do you think is important for every entrepreneur and business owner to know?
One skill. I think you have to be really good at communication, like being able to talk to people, no matter if it's like an investor or a user, or just have good people feelers and great communication skills. I think that's, I would say, is number one. And being able to talk about your business and not being afraid to tell people about it. Number two, I think, is being open to learn new things, because that's going to be really important. I mean, any startup knows that when you're just starting out, you have few hands on deck, maybe a sole founder, and you just by yourself, maybe have an intern. Like, you need to learn all the aspects of a business. So you have to be able to learn things that you're not good at, learn new skills. So you have to be open to that.
Yeah. And how important is networking?
It's very networking. It's very important. Absolutely. Networking is key. And that goes back to the communication skill as well. Like, you need to be able to go to events, like be able to talk to people, mingle, not be afraid. tell everyone that you speak to about your business, really. Get the word out there.
Do you ever, was there ever a moment when you went to an event and you felt scared or you felt a bit nervous, or was you kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm just doing this and this is like from your experience as being a freelancer in life?
I think for me, I'm quite a social person, so I'm not afraid is the wrong word, but you know, the energy has to be right, and it's definitely moments where you're like, I'm not in the mingle mode to like go up to people and be like, hello, how are you? You know, sometimes you're just not in that vibe, and I think sometimes when you're not in that mood, it's best not to go to the event, because you're not gonna put your best self forward. You know?
Sometimes I can push through moments like that, but I know that I'm not very I'm not my best in situations like that. Sometimes I can be like so tired, but I'm still there because I'm like, I must network, must complete the task, and I'm just like walking around with my QR code, just like, yep, just scan. Oh, nice to meet you. Yep, scan here, scan here, and I just have no what's the word called when you have no more capacity?
Yeah,
it's just scan.
Exactly. No, so that's but what I feel more uncomfortable is the talking to people. I think that's not really the challenge for me. It can be if it's in Swedish, but in English it's usually fine. But
your first language is South African, right?
No. Well, no, I don't really speak Afrikaans. I can understand a little bit, but I grew up in Austria.
Oh, okay.
So, but spoke English to my mom since she's South African, but went to Austrian schools, so German is. Okay. But still, like, since I lived in Australia, I haven't lived home since I was 18. So I've English.
First language English.
I would say English now, actually, not German.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. And so, how should startups go about getting funding? And if you don't mind me asking, so you've had investment. How did that come about? Because I understand that you said, like, if you don't mind talking about that.
Yep.
Because I understand you say it's very difficult and it's very competitive, and it's even more difficult for female founders. But you managed to do it.
So the first time we raised money was almost 2 years ago, and then it was more about, like, it was in the very beginning, so we didn't have much of a product or anything. It was like an idea. We had like an MVP or like something very basic, as I mentioned. So we managed to raise money from family and friends. We had like a few angels as well. And that was as well like through accelerators or just connecting with people, talking to them about the business. So these really, really early stage investors, they just believe in you as a founder rather than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
and so you just go to them and you propose just like a proposal, this is my idea,
or like a pitch.
Yeah. Okay. And then they're like, yes or no, and then that's how it happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more paperwork and things in between, legal stuff. But to the very first round, like to convince them was more about like speaking to us, our goals, what do we want to do with Bumpy. This time round, when we are fundraising, of course, there's a lot more involved because we have some data, we have some revenues, like we need to show more projections. Like it's a very different game now than it was when we just went mainly based on an idea and a very basic.
Would you say it's more difficult now?
Well, the market has changed as well.
In a good or bad way?
In a bad way. We are in a recession, right?
Yeah.
So no, like the market in the last years changed a lot. So, and all founders experiences, a lot of businesses and small startups have closed down or stopped just because it's really, really difficult. And this is not for female, this is just in general. The market has changed. So that's one thing of why it's more difficult now as well.
How should startups go about getting funding or investment?
I mean, one thing again is like reach out to as many investors as you can, tap into your network. Or I think one thing that people struggle with, and also founders struggle with that maybe they don't have the network to start out with, and we didn't either really. So it's just building your network, connecting with people, going back to the networking, super important.
Yeah.
And then start having calls, talking to people, tell them about your idea or business.
Yeah. Okay, I see. How are things going with Bumpy?
Great, actually. We were just, I think it was last week, in the App Store's favorites apps for women by women. So that's really fantastic.
Amazing.
To get that, to be showcased there. So really proud moment of that.
Yeah.
And then in general, we've been signing new clinics. We've this year we launched a new website, and we've just recently improved all the clinic pages. Also, our clinic web portal has improved a lot. So we've been working a lot on the product as of late, and things are really coming together.
Yeah, amazing. And could we get a testimonial on the podcast? Could we get a verbal testimonial on it? Totally honest feedback. What's it been like working with us or Beardo Group?
No, it's been well. To be honest, we have, and so we actually have not worked with a leads generation company previously. So this has been really great for us actually, because we're such a small team and it's really hard to do a million things. So it's been like super helpful to have like the help with networking and reaching out to people, making connections, getting connections with clinics as well. It's been like really, really good for us.
Yeah, amazing. And the service itself, has it been effective and has it been a smooth run?
Well, we don't have a baseline to measure by, right? Just to make that clear. But I think it has been effective because we wouldn't have made those connections otherwise. So it's been a really great, I don't know if I can say service or tool for us to use to connect with fertility clinics. And of course, there's also a lot of other connections being made. To be completely transparent, right? It's not that we're getting all the connections to the clinics, but we're getting connections to other companies within the space that will maybe never be a customer of ours because it's not relevant, but then we find maybe some other synergy or learn something new. So it's good in that way as well.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. And just to clarify, we have, just for people listening, we have helped you onboard clinics in which countries? Do you remember?
I'm trying to remember which ones are the ones that exactly came through you, but I believe in Spain and Czech Republic.
Yeah, I think so.
And maybe Finland as well.
Yeah, I have it on a Google sheet somewhere.
Yeah.
But amazing. Anything that you'd like to leave with our viewers? Any advice?
Advice?
Or just value to people?
Value. Well, trust your instincts. So that's one thing that I think is really important. Like as founders, we get a lot of input from others, and of course listen. Maybe some things are useful, but trust your gut and your instinct and your plan, because no one knows your business better than you do. And to network, of course, very important. Speak to whoever you can about your business. Let everyone know that it exists and what you do. And that's it.
Cool.
For now.
And where can people find you?
Where can people find us? Well, if you go to App Store and type in Bumpy Fertility, you will find us, or Google Play. And you can also look us up on bumpyclinics.com. And also on Instagram, bumpyapp.se.
Amazing. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I really hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. I really hope that you took some insights from it. And I'm sure if you are a founder that's looking to start your journey or you're looking for some advice, I'm sure that you can reach out to Andrea, you can reach out to myself, and we'd be more than happy to reply to you. And guys, if you didn't know about Beardo Group, we are offering B2B lead generation, social media marketing, and we are doing events. We have our own community and business network, and we're also offering companies to do events for them, growing their community, helping them with their lead generation process, and helping them to develop their business. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.